What's up, people? 10 days ago, we had the Chennai Masters, who have 4 very strong grandmasters of India and another 4 grandmasters of the rest of the world. And Fioruzja was the winner of this event with 2 victories and 5 draws. In this video, I'm going to analyze his victory against Pranesh. His other victory was against Gukesh, the world champion. I'm going to make a different video analyzing just the games of Gukesh because he lost 3 games in the same event. But okay, let's watch his amazing game against Pranesh in the first round of the event. Okay, Pranesh opened with e4, c5 by Fioruzja, knight c3, knight c6, knight e2, and d4. This is a different order to reach the open variation. Knight f3 here is the most played move to reach this position, but okay, this is another move order, completely normal. Pawn takes, and Fioruzja goes for the Pelican, maybe the most solid Sicilian. And here, knight b5, d6, and instead of bishop b5, which is the other main move, here Pranesh employed knight d5. I really like knight d5. I never played that in real games, but I think that this is a very interesting move because leads to a yeah, I really like this move. Leads to this pawn structure where white have a pawn majority into the queen side and black have a pawn majority into the king side. So this makes the game very funny. Pawn takes. Now black have to move with the knight e7 or knight b8. In the best match that I ever seen of a world championship, of course, the best match of the last years between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana, they played this position like 5 times, 4 in classical and other 1 in rapid. So they tried this position many times, all of them with Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces. So here knight b8 or knight e7 are the 2 main moves. I prefer. I don't know. Both moves are fine, but knight b8 is a little bit more logical because this square is better for the knight. By the way, both moves are fine. For example, a4 was employed by Fabiano in that match, and bishop b7, bishop b2, sword castle, knight d7, and they play this position twice in this match. For example, Caruana make this novelty of b4 in that match. In the other game, he played bishop d2. So, but okay, knight b8 is a completely normal move. But Fioruzja chose for this game knight e7, which is the other normal moves. And here white can play with c4 or with a4. C4 is the other normal move played by Caruana in the match. For example, knight g6, queen e4, bishop d7, queen b4. The idea of play c4 instead of a4 is that here a6 is a bad move because queen a4 win the game. If you play a4, you haven't this idea. But okay, a4 by Pranesh, a6, and here you haven't queen a4. That's why c4 is interesting too. Knight c3, the knight should return. And okay, it's true that here the knight is bad placed on e7, but this knight lost 2 tempos and the pawn is still being on c2. So that's the reason of why Fioruzja played knight e7. Knight g6. Of course, then you should develop this bishop. g3, good move. The knight, when the knight goes to g6, g3 used to be a useful move, controlling both square and preparing h4, h5, attacking the knight, bishop e7, now good move. h4, and great response of Fioruzja. He knows that the knight is bad placed on g6 and he maneuvered with the knight, he trying to improve. And good prophylaxis against h5, of course, because if not, h5, h6. Okay, so shortcut is another playable move, but okay, here h5 is coming. So okay, I like the move played by Fioruzja till here. Everything is normal. a5, good move, winning a space in the side that he have the advantage. Knight d7, bishop e3, sword castle here, everything is more or less normal. And here Pranesh made not the best move of the position. He made queen d2, just developing the queen, who can look more or less natural, but this is not the best option here. We have an interesting refutation. Here was better, or g4, avoiding f5, who black is going to play f5 in the next move. Or not in the next move, but in the next few moves, black plan to play f5 and take a space in the king side. So for that reason, g4 is a good idea, not allowing black to expand. And queen g4 is another interesting idea. This is more complex, but because after f5 here, queen b4. I really like this maneuver of queen b4, avoiding black to advance these pawns to b6 or b5. So yeah, I really like queen b4. The problem of queen d2 is that here black can break with b5 or b6. b6 is slightly better. Fioruzja play b5, who is fine too. That's why queen d2 is not the best move. Here was stronger to just keep the tension there with g4 and just keep the pawn here, avoiding the knight to jump to b6. That's why b6 was slightly better, but okay. Pranesh capture on b6, and after knight b6, now black is perfectly fine. He's going to play f5, and the huge problem of white position is his king. The white problem here, if it wasn't for the king, everything is perfect. But the white principal problem is that the king on e1 have no safe square. Because if he goes to the king side, black is going to break with f4. In the queen side, sorry, doesn't look so safe because the absence of the a pawn. And in the center, he's going to have problems too. So yes, that's the problem of black position, this king. So yeah, here bishop b2 and king d1 followed by king c1 was the best option of the computer, but black is fine anyway. Instead of that, Pranesh made knight d4. Now bishop g4 was fine, but okay, he played queen c7, c4. Now you can take because queen c3, so bishop f5, f3, capture queen c3. Now gains many tactics because okay, black have a pawn up, but this knight is pinned, so the position is now a little bit hard to understand. Here he played rook c1, bishop g1 was the other option, bishop d7, and now rook c1, but now queen b7. So now in this moment the game turned very hard to understand. By the way, rook c1, they play more or less good rook c1, and after all this first move, they reach this position where Fioruzja have a exchange down, but 2 pawns and the bishop pair. Then later the Pranesh is going to be able to capture the bishop pair, because if not, black is completely winning. Because apart of that, the 2 pawns are in the center, who are very useful to have the pawns in the center. So there are 2 pawns in the center against 0. Black have huge counterplay for the exchange, of course. You have a bishop and 2 central pawns, and a safer king who is useful too. So here, after all the force move, after all the tactics, they reach this position where Fioruzja had a great position, rook c6. Now Pranesh made many concrete and great moves to manage to trade the black bishop pair, because if not, black is completely winning if black doesn't act fast. Now rook c6, attacking the pawn, knight b6, knight b4, rook b6, d5, and now finally knight d6. With the last 3 moves, white managed to capture the black bishop pair, who is very important. Bishop take, rook takes. By the way, black is better anyway. Now he played rook b8 with the plan of king e7, king f8, king e7. h5 was the other option. By the way, rook b8 is fine. Now bishop h3 is the only move, because if not, king e7, king f8, king e7 is coming. So now bishop h3 is the only move. Capture, king f8. Now again, rook d7. Pranesh is all the time making the only move of the game to not be lost. King e8, rook c7, knight d7. And after many great defensive moves, finally Pranesh made a small inaccurate move. It's not really bad. The best move here was king e2, because after knight here, now he have rook h1 and knight c4 is not coming with a check. Of course, hard to see all of this. He played rook king d2, who is not the best. Knight here. And again, rook h1 was the best move. Knight c4, king c3, king c6, but it's very hard for white to hold the game, of course. He made another inaccurate move with f4. Again, in Pranesh is not making bad moves, just a little bit inaccuracies, and Fioruzja is making all the good moves. So for that reason, Fioruzja is taking the advantage. King c4, and here comes the 3rd inaccurate move in a row. 3 inaccurate moves in a row in a difficult position against a top player, you are going to lose. Here king d3 was slightly better, but okay, of course, very hard to understand. I suppose king d3, and now the king is blockading the pawns, because after king here, now e4, and these pawns are going to run, of course. d4. By the way, here after make a perfect game did here, now we are in the move 35, and in the first 34 moves, Fioruzja make a perfect chess, but now he start to fail a little bit. It's just better to just keep pushing. The knight is perfectly placed on c4. These pawns are fine here, so we can just push this pawn and win the game. For example, if rook b3, we can just trade an e3. If, I don't know, rook c3 here, this tactic doesn't work, because, for example, f5 and rook a8 is winning. a3 is winning too. Yes, maybe Fioruzja was afraid about the capture. I don't know. But a4 looks completely normal. Instead of that, he played knight d6, not the best. Here rook b3 was stronger. Rook h3, not the best, because d4, good move by Fioruzja, rook c5, d3. Here, okay, rook a4, rook a2 was better. Rook f4 by Fioruzja, not the best. And okay, after that, of course, these two pawns are very, very dangerous, and this knight defends well. So finally, white captured the black knight, but he should give the rook, and they reach the rook endgame, where it's completely winning by Fioruzja, because these 3 pawns are very, very weak. Okay, the extra pawn is important, but the key is that these 3 pawns after rook d4 are very, very weak. So yes, Fioruzja converted this endgame more or less easy. That's okay, this king is very close to this pawn, and this king is so far. So yeah, Fioruzja converted well this endgame. Here I want to show the last key moment of the game. Okay, here, sorry, after rook a3, here very important move of Fioruzja, rook b5, cutting the king and not allowing the white king to come to the defense. So rook b5, very, very important move. But later, here he make a very ugly move. He play f5, who, okay, is winning anyway, but this move is very, very ugly. He can just play f6, the white king is cut, so we can just in advancing the black king and the white pawn, and the black king and the black pawn very, very easy. But with f5, he's auto cutting his king. So okay, this move wins too, but now by just 1 tempo. So, but okay, good game by Fioruzja, who with the other game that where he beat Gukes, he won the Chennai Masters. So congratulations to Fioruzja. Now he's playing he's playing in USA or what? I don't know if he's playing now in the USA, but because now we're having the Rapid and Blitz in San Luis, then we're going to have the Sinkfield and then the finals of the Grandmasters Tour. I'm sure that he's going to be in one of these 3 events. So let's see what's happening with Fioruzja in the next events. Bye bye.